of our annual allotment, and that's already been either expended or budgeted for other costs. So I'm asking you for the difference between what was already budgeted in the consultant line of $5,000, the difference of their full contract of $40,000.
So the work's been contracted and done, completed. Yes. The city owes them one way or another.
The city has paid them.
The city has paid them?
Yes.
How'd you pay them?
Just like we do with anticipated revenue, we pay them in the consultant's line, and then the revenue is requested, the reimbursement is requested.
Who is LISC?
Local Initiative Support Corporation. It's a national organization, nonprofit that, for instance, here takes the Attorney General's, the bank settlement funds paid to the Attorney General for the big bank's participation in the mortgage crisis, the housing crisis. So they were taken to court. Instead of going through the whole lawsuit, they paid millions of dollars in settlements, and the AG's office then sends those funds to LISC or Enterprise Community Partners or other organizations like that to manage the funding for them. And so the city received $150,000 from LISC, a grant award from LISC, and we anticipated using some of those funds.
Oh, we got a grant from LISC.
Yes.
But you hope to use a portion of it.
Correct.
How much?
40 total.
40. Okay. Uh-huh. The other 5,000
was already budgeted in our economic development office budget for consultants.
So that was paid out of last year's budget?
This year's budget.
And we had approved that.
You had already approved the 5,000, so I'm asking for the difference of 35.
So we're on the dime for $35,000.
What are you doing? What are you doing in the future to make sure this kind of thing doesn't happen again?
We will make sure that we have our CDBG funds to hold on to that. I mean, to do that work rather than anticipating using other revenue to do that work.
One more time.
In 5 years, when we have to do the 5-year consolidated plan again, we will make sure that we set aside all of the funds to come from the community development fund, the CDBG funds, rather than using a different grant.
No, I'm just talking about, like, this was a conversation you had with another person and you were given misinformation. I mean, isn't there a more concrete kind of way we transfer funds than that?
This has never happened to me before, so it was not really within my control. I had an understanding that changed. I don't know. I won't let it happen again. I'll make sure that the funds are fully agreed to on both sides, all sides, before we get into contract with a consultant.
It sounds a little bit like it was a verbal deal and you need a written deal.
Yeah, I mean, there were funds in the budget, the grant agreement, saying that we could use these funds for plans and development of housing initiatives. Mm-hmm. Of which we were spending some of that money on our consolidated plan. And she said that we could do that, and then she said that we couldn't.
So is there no other way to pay this?
No, I mean, right now, it's an open purchase order. No, if community development funding is not available, we don't have it on the city side. It's not within any department's budget. I think that at this point, I think contingency would be pretty adaptable.
Tells me whether we like this or not, there's no choice.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Grr.
Now, we're back to this other.
Yeah,
that you didn't even know about.
Well, I did. I just wasn't on the agenda, so I didn't realize you were
It's
considering
transferred
it right now.
$20,000 from. Let's see, what is the second round of anticipatory budgeting?
Right.
So this is being transferred from what, John?
I think it was 5651 5311,
Yeah, what's that?
it's, the downtown business district. That's where the participatory budgeting
Right,
monies
I
are,
understand that.
budgeted.
Okay,
She's moving into the line in which, it would be paid from.
5472, which is, we're paying, what are we doing here?
It's contracted services, I think,
Contracted
right?
services. Because the 5311 is an equipment type account, capital account, that's
Yeah.
really a contracted service.
And the contract, what are we contracting here?
So our office was tasked with managing the delivery of these program dollars to the Rondout District for the type of programs that were selected by the community to be implemented with the participatory budgeting funds. And so there's an application process. It's being handled by a subcommittee of the Community Development Advisory Board. And so we need to be able to pay the awardees once those applications.
So those projects have been itemized somewhere, we know what they're asking?
Not yet. Not yet. We're going through the application process. We'll know what those winning projects or programs are
Okay, so
by December.
projects to be determined,
Right.
but we know it's going in, I mean, that's what the money is allocated for, we're just.
Right.
Okay. I don't think there's any problem there. Is there a motion here?
Motion.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, I think, thank you. Brenda.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Good night, Brenda.
Good night.
Are all these getting around to me, Brenda? Just one more.
I didn't
Right there.
have
Oh. Okay.
They're all ones.
Let's see, I guess, I know what the department head list.
Yeah, no.
So we could just go down the list. then,
I need to go for a second. I need to get a drink.
right? Okay. So we go with building safety first? Or maybe we order,
Just go to building and safety budget transfer, just work our way down. From this point on, it's just a bunch of transfers.
so we'll go in,
On
do we
page-
go to the order of the agenda or the order of the package?
That's up to you.
Let's do the order of the package.
Yeah. So we don't, number one is Jackie DeCico, right? I think you-
Huh? I have a letter from the mayor on top of mine. That's,
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah,
about
yeah,
the
yeah. Well, we've
police-
already done that.
we've already
No,
done
there's
that.
two parts. to
Who's
that.
signature?
Then Jackie decision. Patrick O'Ryan.
Is that passed?
I think so.
Oh, this is the
He
second.
gave me the
We-
stamp.
We already authorized, okay, so let's do that first. Okay, all right. There, in that letter, there's two parts. One is for the vehicles, which is $190,000. We've already approved that.
Yep.
Secondly is $235,000 to pay off all remaining, let's wait till Patrick gets back. So we'll start on that. Okay.
While we're waiting on him,
Hmm?
while we're waiting on him, could discuss a little bit. There's an agenda item, or there's a question for the city hall budget, because we've talked about in the past of providing raises to the members of the common council. And so, if we do that, it's gonna be a $20,000 cost if it's $2,000 per person. We talked about this last year, remember we had the whole budget discussion?
Yeah.
And so, there's money in the budget for the mayor's raise, but none for the common council raise. So there's the question of whether we want to do it, if we do, how much? And if we do it, where do we take the money from? So, I mean, we don't need to discuss it here, but it's something to bring up and think about before next week's meeting.
Patrick, we're gonna follow the package order rather than the
Good
agenda
idea.
order, so we don't.
Smart.
Yeah. First one is the letter from the mayor. There are two items there, one of which we've already approved. That's $190,000 of fund balance to fund the acquisition of 4 police vehicles. The other is $235,000 of fund balance to pay off all remaining amortization with the New York State retirement system. And this is in addition to $390,000 previously authorized on Resolution 133 for the same purpose. So we're taking more of the fund balance, $235,000. He wants to take additional $235,000 of the fund balance. So we pay off, this will be 100%.
This would pay off all the remaining loans with the retirement system for prior bills.
So this will be done. So authorize the committee report reads, authorize the use of $235,000 in unassigned fund balance in the general fund to pay down remaining amortizations with the New York State retirement system. $390,000 of fund balance was previously authorized through Common Council Resolution number 133 in 2019. So the impact is $235,000 coming from the fund balance. Questions?
And when was that loan originally taken out?
That's several loans that were, the last one was 2016. The first one would be 2013. Of that, this would be paying off. So several amortizations.
But and that was though because of the city's inability to pay
It goes back to originally.
to the
There was
recession, right?
Shortly after the recession, there was a market increase in the retirement bill from one year to the next. At the time, would have required somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million tax increase. Recognizing that the dilemma that put municipalities in New York State, the retirement system offered a program called the Contribution Stabilization Program that a lot of municipalities took advantage of, which allowed you to borrow part of that increase, and then they gradually got your rate up to what the actual amount would be over time. So the city borrowed over a number of years, and then finally got to the point several years ago where we were no longer borrowing. And all along the way, we were paying regular amortization payments, and we've made several lump sum payments towards paying that off. This would pay off the remaining balances. If left if we didn't do anything, we'd be paying for another 5 or 6 years on some of the newest one. It would be go out to 2025 or 2026. I have to look it up maybe, but.
So do you have an idea of what the savings is on all that?
In interest?
Yeah.
I don't have a number with me, but it's over 3% interest rate on average.
Anyone care to move on this?
What's our fund balance now?
Fine, you ask.
It's got it right there.
There's the measured amount as of 12/31/18. For everyone. So in the mayor's letter, he indicates, he mentions how much fund balance we've authorized to since the end of 18. At the end of 18, the fund balance was at 18.59%. The policy is 10 to 13%. So, to get back within our policy limits, we've been identifying uses of fund balance that would be in accordance with our fund balance policy, primarily to fund capital projects. And which saves interest costs, as well as paying off debt, which once again saves interest costs. So these are all items that would save taxpayer money.
Mhm.
So once again, at the end of 2018, if you look at the first column, the unassigned fund balance is the $8,176,226. You can see the change from year to year.
Mhm. And so, since we haven't been increasing, in essence, the tax levy, what's causing the fund balance to rise so much every year?
There's some one-shots in there. There's also budgetary savings. Savings and expenses, savings and revenues, or revenues that exceed budget. Like sales tax, things that we talk about every
Positive variance.
Yeah, positive variances in budget. Whether it's expenses not backfilling positions, if it's utility bills that come in below budget. It's a number of different items.
And is the sales tax, is that contributing much to this?
Yeah, in some years it's several $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, our policy calls for, identifying, measuring what the amount is and then taking actions to try to bring it back within the level. So last 2 years, we've made a lot of actions from fund balance to try to strengthen the city's financial position by paying down this amortization or paying off these amortizations on our retirement system, paying for vehicles with available funds rather than borrowing for them.
And then what would prevent us from sending some of this money back to the taxpayers?
What would prevent us?
Yeah. Is there an economic reason not to do that? Is there
how would you suggest we do that?
Send them checks?
Yeah, I've never heard of such a thing. But you can use fund balance to lower the tax levy.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing you could do.
Why aren't we doing that?
Because then you
it
create.
seems to be increasing every year, and if
we're taking actions. If you've noticed, we took a look at the mayor's letter. You've taken 1 million. Since January 1st, 2019, you've authorized the use of $1,592,500,000 of fund balance to pay off certain items for certain acquisitions. In addition, you're authorizing these two things that you authorized today.
And so one way we're saving the taxpayers' money then by doing this is that we're reducing the cost of interest on future purchases,
Correct.
Right?
Correct. If you used fund balance to lower if you just said, listen, let's take $1 million and we're going to appropriate that $1 million of fund balance, which you could. You can just take $1 million and buy down next year's tax rate.
Mm-hmm.
But now, rather than appropriating whatever the mayor has in the budget, you've appropriated an additional $1 million. So you've caused a structural imbalance in the budget. You've created, if you take, does anyone have their 2020 budget in front of them?
No.
No.
But if that number is $900,000, it's in the neighborhood of $900,000, you now make that appropriated fund balance $1.9 million. You now have to break even and exceed budget by $1.9 million to get that money back. It's creating an imbalance. It's considered deficit budgeting. It's a risky way to go, in my opinion. I think the most prudent thing is to use those funds to pay off items such as debt, to offset future bonding by acquiring assets that would otherwise require bonding, saves taxpayer interest money in the long run.
if it keeps going this way, though, John, if it keeps going up, we keep paying our debts. Eventually, it's going to be a point where we have no debt and we have all this extra money.
We have plenty of debt. We have plenty of debt.
No worry about that.
Yeah,
No worries.
Yeah. You want to know what that number is?
Sure.
Hold on.
we also have to be concerned about the economy going into recession too, right?
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, right? So,
Right.
so every year you use a number to appropriate fund balance, to balance the budget, right? In the last few years, that number's been around $900,000. By default, you have to exceed your budget, your revenues and expenses, revenues above the budget level, expenditures below the budget level, by that number to bring in fund balance to where you started, right? So in a good year, and the state recommends conservative budgeting, which we do. You try to budget your revenues conservatively, you budget your expenditures conservatively. You have to exceed budget by that $900,000 to break even for the year,
Mm-hmm.
to keep your fund balance with where you started. In a down economy where things start to tank, like what happened with the recession, when revenues fall below your expectations, you put yourself in a position where you don't hit that $900,000 and you could go the opposite direction.
Like a sales tax.
Well, there was a year, yeah, I mean, if I look at our sales tax, give me 1 second, because you asked me a few questions there. Going back a number of years ago. I mean, and you can look too on this, the change, for the first 3 years on this chart, the fund balance didn't change a lot. The fund balance has increased a bit as the economy has been a little stronger, but the economy will go back the other direction eventually. So just taking sales tax as an example. Sales tax. Sorry. In 2009, when in the recession, we missed our sales tax budget by $940,000. We missed it by $940. So, ideally, we outperform budget each year. I don't think it's realistic to expect that we're going to track at this level long term at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're seeing a short term blip. Obviously, as we're developing budgets and we see positive performance, we tend to bring the budgets back down, right? And whether it's expenses or revenues, we try to get it a little bit tighter. But I don't think this is unlike other municipal budgets in this time.
I mean, it's true, the economy is very, much stronger now, but there are many, many economists don't believe that's going to continue.
Well, fortunately, we've been able to hold the tax levy for 4 years. You try to bring the tax levy down, you're in a stronger position where you're gonna have to raise it back. Where if you keep it where it's at,
And that won't go down.
And so, John, what's the minimum fund balance? $904,000. Is that correct?
no,
That we could have, and we have 10 million. Or am I wrong?
no. Once again, this is a city policy. The minimum would be 10%, and the policy is the 13. So we range between 10 and 13 is what are recommended. The national GFOA recommends 10 to 15%. So, we have 10 to 13 in our policy. 10 to 15 is the national recommendation.
So what is 10 to 15 for this year?
Well, 15%, we're at 18.59, so that would be 3.59% over that number.
It's over 13%. I thought you said our policy was 13%.
Yes,
And you said 18%. Isn't that 5% over?
yes, 18.59.
So
So,
we're 5% over.
He gave two numbers. So
sorry.
Yeah.
federal average is the
So-
lower number.
so
Right.
what the policy, our policy states is that the council will take action in the following year, to reduce the fund balance to the level within the policy. So you've taken action to authorize $1,592,000. You're now authorizing an additional amount. So you're getting close to that 13%. Whether, and once again, it's all dependent on 2019 results at this point. But the council's you're not just seeing these results and you're not taking action. The council is taking action I mean, there's a number of resolutions the council has passed in the last 2 years to authorize the use of fund balance to bring it down within the policy limits. And once again, I mean, if the council has suggestions on further use of the fund balance, you know, on top of what the mayor's recommended, the council can always bring that up as well.
Can it be used for salary increases?
That would go against our policy,
Okay.
because that would have a recurring cost. The point of it is you want to use the fund balance
And
to.
a one-shot deal,
For
like
items
buying
that
a
would not
car.
have a recurring cost,
like
right?
buying a car.
Right. Or paying
Paying off debt.
amortization. You wouldn't want to use it to establish a program that has recurring costs,
Okay,
something of that nature.
right. And so, again, I asked the question, what is that 13% fund balance for this year? What's the number we're looking to get to?
It would be 13% of the 43.
8 million.
Of the 43?
It's, give me a second.
And then what, and
477 times 0.13. You'd be at the unassigned fund balance would be 5,716,942. Would be the 13% of the 2019 expenditures.
What's that number again?
5,716,942. So you ended up 2018 at 8,176,226. You have, you've already authorized 1,592,500. Additionally, you're about to authorize an additional $625,000.
Why 625?
That's the mayor's letter,
Yeah, that doesn't add up, it's 390,
plus the vehicles.
235 plus 90.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm using the wrong number here. Give me 1 second.
325.
425.
325. Oh, so, yeah,
425.
425, right.
That would be 6,158,726.
So presumably, there's still more in the fund balance if other non-recurring expenses come up that we want to pay rather than bonding for and paying interest.
Potentially,
Potentially.
but there's other costs that are potentially hanging out there that may have to come from fund balance.
Yeah, right, sure.
so John,
I would expect.
so John, the fund balance we need to keep is $5,716. I mean, $5,700,000, correct?
Correct.
We need to keep that, but we
have.
have 8 million, is that correct?
You had 8,176,226.
But we
in
spent some of it.
2018. You've already authorized the use of an additional, in excess of $2 million.
We've already authorized $2 million out of the fund balance,
Yes.
and we have another how much $1 million?
You're down to 6 million. That would bring it down to 6,158,726
And we need $5,700,000.
and change. Yes.
So you got about $400,000 or $500,000.
Yes, and you have.
That's all we have left to bring it down to
Above
the
the
13%.
threshold.
That's the threshold, the 13%.
So you're getting close.
And you're saying you could go on for a long time with this type of budgeting strategies, correct? As long as the economy's good, spending down, paying down the debts.
You're gonna have items that are gonna come from fund balance. There's gonna be other demands from fund balance. I can't forecast. I mean, the economy could tank next year, and you could go the other direction. So I can't. This is the history over the last 3 years. Obviously, we approach every budget the same exact way. We try to budget conservatively. When the economy is going well, it tends to work in our favor. But there's times, obviously, where the economy slides back a little bit, and pinch and pinch. I mean, the fund balance is there to protect the taxpayers from tax increases. It's there to provide for a good bond rating, to once again save interest costs. There are value to the taxpayers of having that fund balance there.
Is there such a thing as too much fund balance, John?
There's no legal threshold for us now. These are just recommendations. Once again, I mean, the recommendation is up to 15% of a target level. So.
And how much have you kept it at over the last couple of years? That 13%, is that what you're keeping it at usually?
Well,
Are we spending down to the 13% every year?
Not exactly. No, it hasn't gone.
No, I'm not saying
Well,
exactly.
we've taken actions to spend down the fund balance each year. It's only exceeded 13% the last 2 years. Prior to that, last 3 years. 3 years ago it was 13.23%. It was very minimal. The last 2 years it's been over. We've taken actions to spend down some of that fund balance.
Okay, Joe.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want to move on this?
Oh, motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Let's next go to,
Did that go through? That was the
yeah,
internal system harmonization?
Yes.
Okay.
now let's go to civil service.
Yes, we're getting it up right now.
Civil service.
It's gonna save our taxpayers.
So Jackie DeSico, looking to transfer $1,300 from 2 accounts into 3 other accounts. Decrease from appointed officials and exam fees, $1,350, split between overtime pay, longevity pay, and office supplies. Okay. Your second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Sneaky one.
Let's see, we've already done the one from John Schulteis, city engineer.
Which one are we looking at right now?
I think this one.
West
Line?
Point.
Okay. We didn't do civil service, right?
Yeah, we just
We
did
just
that.
did that one.
The civil service budget transfer? Okay.
Yeah.
And then mine?
Let's see, civil service. Yeah, next one is yours, John, mid-year transfers of $28,158. No financial impact. Everyone see the committee report and the itemization following that?
Yep.
Any questions there?
Nope.
Just transfer from bond interest, you can do that,
This is the budget.
Hmm?
Yeah, from that item in the budget. That's our ban interest, so we were able to do the borrowing, we were able to get a lower interest rate than we anticipated. So,
Okay, all right. All right, is there a motion here?
motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Okay, the next wastewater treatment facility, a budget transfer to cover shortfalls, $19,679. This is to design a new roof on
What?
the new garage we purchased.
What? Where did it say that, Doug?
When did we purchase a new garage?
The Myron building.
Huh?
The Myron building.
Oh, out on the,
No, on the Strand.
on the Strand?
East Strand.
Oh. When did we do that?
I think it closed last year,
2018?
I believe so.
Recently, is adjacent to the treatment facility. Recommended to issue a contract to Lothrop Associates. I presume they're low bidder, so bids have been solicited. And issue a contract to design a new roof. Plus $19,679 to design a roof?
On a garage?
Oh, no, this is a good sized building and it's a flat roof. It's the first roof is what's leaking now, okay? This is to replace that roof.
Here's the,
What's this?
that's the committee report I did because they didn't include one.
Oh,
Any idea what it's gonna cost to replace this roof? If this is just a design? Nobody knows? Okay.
wait a minute. This we request a budgetary transfer of that $19,679. Oh, it's coming from regular pay into consultants who will design the roof. What's the construction gonna cost on this? Nobody knows.
You won't know until the design, so.
Well, zero financial impact.
Do we know it needed a roof when we bought it? Termites, anything else?
Yeah, of course we did.
We knew it was shot.
And Alan was here and he mentioned it in his discussion with the wastewater treatment plant when he was here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The next one is from the police chief, we already did that, $136,800. We did this one for Brenna for participating budgeting. Okay, now we have, looks like 3 from DPW.
3PW.
Hmm?
3PW.
D-
Pun, never mind.
It's a joke went over my head.
No, it went under, way under.
Where?
There's two, just so there should be 2 treatment plant transfers, hopefully you get to the next one somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's another one. Okay, this involves city bus.
Thank you.
Transfer to DPW city bus. This is to transfer money from city bus regular pay into overtime and retirement payout. Well, this is, how does this tie in with the takeover by the county? This is to transfer $88,105.57 out of city bus regular pay.
You're looking at the city bus transfer,
Mhm.
yeah, they're gonna have, right, so there will be further transfers needed, but DPW is trying to clean up the city bus budget. Keep in mind, city bus ceased operations. So as part of the
So there was money, unspent money in pay?
and regular pay that had to be transferred overtime, and then there, as part of the agreement with the CSCA, employees who terminated services with the city were entitled to pay out of their accrued time. So that's what that retirement pad is.
Okay. So no financial impact, right?
Correct.
Zero.
Did you do the building and safety transfer yet or no?
I don't think so.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, for this transfer for city bus, is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? I didn't hear you, Pat.
Aye.
Aye. Next is from Kevin Gilfeather.
There's not a second DPW transfer there?
It's coming somewhere,
Okay.
We're going,
I think.
we're going through the pack.
There should be. Yeah, it's coming.
We're going through the pack.
It's coming. Let's do, Kevin, there was a gift to the city of $2,801.60 by the Junior League of Kingston for new security cameras and associated equipment to be installed at the Kindleton Playground, Forsyth Park. So Kevin wants to transfer these funds to increase the revenue line and then increase the expense line by 2008, so no financial impact.
Motion. Second.
What was the total on it?
$2,800, $2,801.60. I'm sorry, Randy, you second.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Patrick, I didn't,
Aye.
okay. You might have, but I didn't hear you. Next is also Parks and Recreation to increase the expense. This is associated with replace the roof on the, and siding on the Forsyth Park Pavilion. There's a grant from New York State of $16,200 specifically for this purpose, John?
Sorry.
The grant was for $16,200 specifically for that.
For this, yeah, I'm not overly familiar with the grant, but yes.
Okay, and so increase the revenue line and increase the expense line, so zero financial impact.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Okay, back to Ed Norman now. DPW. Transfer of $18,850 from, let's see, city bus. The transfer will cover shortfalls in account.
I just got lost. Where
What is it?
Let's see, well, these aren't itemized here. The transfer from, you see that, line 211, 487, 109, 101.
How much is it? Total of
18,850.
18,850. Yeah. Sorry, I can't keep up with it. Sorry,
I know.
different words from what
I know.
So where are these,
Where's the money coming from?
yeah, that's,
They're all internal.
yeah, I know, but what is 211 and
211 is equipment.
equipment?
So,
Equipment, I believe that's material supplies, shift differential, or standby pay, and regular pay.
Regular pay,
Regular pay.
standby pay,
Yeah, I'll have to, let me take a look at what 519 is, hold on.
and 487.
so in essence, John, these were over budgeted last year. Now we have the money.
Temporary status change. No, these are all just your standard budget transfers that you have to do. You don't budget, no line works out exactly what you budgeted, so, you know, when you got certain accounts that go a little bit over, you pull from accounts that are a little bit under. And this is all it is, just
Okay.
filling up the budget.
All right, John.
Zero impact. Motion?
Motion.
Second. Does it list zero impact on there?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Patrick, any?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, Brenna, we've already voted in 2 on Brenna.
DPW,
DPW again, okay, a list,
fees,
lots of fees to be put onto the tax rolls. Paid $36,483.25
My number's not.
to be applied to the 2020 property tax bills. Yeah, good.
Oh, I think they see Steve Shannon.
So, Controller, on behalf of DPW, request authorization to add $36,483.25 in unpaid DPW charges as per attached list to the city's 2020 property tax bills. What are the most of these charges?
Most of them are probably related to refuse and garbage.
Yeah.
Pickup, $2,491.
Over $36,000. All from garbage and
There's
refuse?
but one guy got nailed for $2,000, over $2,000.
These are fines for,
Fines, charges.
189
When
North
they were
Street.
here, for their budget, they explained some of them were
yeah,
going to be,
yeah.
you know, mass pickups where.
These
you know,
might
they-
be couches and,
Where someone vacated premises and left everything out on the curb. I mean,
okay.
I'm sure it's a mix of different items.
oh yeah, because I see an address, I know where they had that happen,
What's it cost?
$1,300.
Wow.
No, that was a drug house, and the KPD finally busted them out of there, and so they were just gone, and the owners had to toss everything.
Right.
But this is really a positive impact, isn't it?
If you want to put it that way, you can. I mean, it's not changing the budget at all. There's no impact on the budget.
Well, it's money that we, I mean, this is increased revenue, is it not?
It doesn't impact the budget. I mean, for budgetary purposes, there's no impact.
Why not?
Because those monies were budgeted. All you're doing is you're changing the mechanism in which you're collecting the money. The monies were due to the city. You're just changing the mechanism rather than them paying through the mail. You're now collecting it through taxes.
So this money's already been budgeted in the budget?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on here. Okay, more charges. This is from the controller. Building safety, from building safety, again, list of charges to be levied against City of Kingston property owners on their tax bill. This is a total of $90,520.
Huh?
Do you have a form on this?
How much is it?
90,200, 520, 90,520.
And that's for the building department?
Yeah.
Stuff on where I go here.
These are for violations?
Yes. Or charges.
Or charges?
Yeah, so, give me 1 second. There's actually two different There's this one, and then there's another one.
Right,
There's, that's 90,000.
okay. So request authorization to add $90,520 in outstanding building department charges to the city's 2020 property tax bills. Can I hear a motion?
Motion.
So,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Mm.
Okay,
This is for the other charges.
and moving on. Also from Steve Knox, building safety.
That should be with the other communication.
Huh?
That should be right, that should be the last item. Yeah, that's in there as well. That's another committee
Oh,
report.
another item here. This is a,
You want me to explain that one?
wait a minute, let me read it. Request authorization to add $1,005.81 in outstanding energy improvement corporate charges to the city's 2020 property tax bill. This action is necessary to administer the incentive program previously adopted by the Common Council. So this is, yeah, please explain.
So this is a incentive program that was passed by the Common Council a number of years ago, which enabled commercial properties to make certain energy improvements on their property. They took out loans with the Energy Improvement Corp, and the repayment of those loans would go through the City of Kingston tax roll. So essentially, the city collects the money and then remits it to the Energy Improvement Corp.
Who are we collecting this money from?
We have one household that's taking advantage of the program.
Okay, that's not
That's
listed
it.
here.
That's it right there.
Huh?
One business that took advantage of it.
It's not listed here, who we're collecting from.
It does. It gives you, I believe, the SBL
446 Broadway.
right here. This is the business right here.
Oh, 446.
Yeah. So,
That's not our address. That's
420.
no.
Corner of East O'Reilly and Broadway.
So they,
Huh?
Corner of East O'Reilly and Broadway.
You know all the numbers and where they're
Well, if you've been around for a while, you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right. Is there, financial impact is zero again. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Okay, that's building safety. Another one from building safety. Who's that? Should I- Who's that? You had that committee. Wait a minute, what do we see that? Yeah, okay. This one
Can you
is
initial those two?
$3,000. What happened to that?
Over there.
Did we have that?
Went that way for some reason.
Who's on that one?
No, there's one other. John, where's this one? You just,
They just passed 3 to you, Doug.
yeah,
which one are you looking for?
huh?
Which one are you looking
That
for?
one's down.
$3,043.
Yeah, there's two from, I have two committee reports, they're blank, but there's two budgetary transfers from the building department. I'll make sure you do.
All right.
Okay, two from the building transfer to cover part-time housing inspector salary for the balance of 2019. So this is coming from regular pay into part-time, $3,043, zero financial impact.
Both transfers are just internal.
Well, let's do one at a time, okay? To cover part-time housing inspector salary, so we and it's coming out of the regular pay line and going into part-time. So, is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Another one for building safety. Zero impact. Transfer of funds, $1,400 to cover additional hours required for code training and plumbing board meetings. It's coming out of the employee training line and going into part-time plumbing line. So this is a part-time plumbing person that has to be trained?
Yes. Yeah, they brought on the part-time plumbing inspector.
Okay, part-time.
Did we just hire a full-time one?
But we went from part-time to full-time.
Not in 2019.
Another 19.
Oh, thank you.
That's the 20 budget presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, zero impact, is there a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. And I think with the exception of Dan,
There's another treatment plant transfer.
yeah,
Is there not?
you have it?
I have one. I don't think this got passed. Not there. Maybe we can move on that.
Yeah, that was in here somewhere.
Yeah,
Did-
I don't
Did I-
recall you putting it through.
Somehow I didn't buy that one. Oh, I know where, I saw this online, but it's not in the package here. So this is wastewater treatment plant, budget transfer to cover shortfalls, a transfer of $55,368.91 from about, looks like about 15 accounts into Wait a minute. Transferring 55,358 out and transferring in.
It's from out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's two different outs.
Yeah, I say from two different outs, okay. So the two outs, transferring outs from about 10 accounts, $55,368.91. Transferring into about 12 accounts, $55,368.91. These are balancing accounts of the wastewater treatment plant. Second transfer is $1,130.74 for one account into two accounts. Okay, questions? Zero financial impact.
Motion.
Did you second, Steve?
Yes, he did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Trying to keep the, I don't have a state, but see some people over there. That's it, isn't it?
You should have the audit, which was emailed to everyone, and then also the fee schedule from the mayor.
We're gonna do that first, or?
I mean, I'm gonna be here, you can do it after executive session if you want, it's fine. I mean, we can do executive session first and then come back.
Okay,
I have it before
I'd
anyone.
like to have go into executive session for the purposes of discussing a settlement. Is there a motion? Wouldn't it say?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You'd also have to invite me to stay in.
Hmm?
You'd have to invite me to stay in.
I invite John to stay in.
An amendment, okay.
That's pretty obnoxious.
I'm not waiting.
Amend that motion to include the controller and the corporation counsel. The second to the amendment? To the
Second.
motion to amend?
Motion, second.
Second.
Motion,
second,
whoever. All right, done, okay. Okay,
Is that off?
You have to leave them.
Oh, I have to, I'm sorry.
yeah, we'll invite you back, okay?
That's all right.
We don't have to arrest you.
Okay.
Ah, hold on,
You
hold
might
on.
want to check further on Westbrook Lane, I got some information for you.
Okay.